Welcome to the Tavern Community Podcast. We are joined today by Tristan de Halleux from The Network. Welcome.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for having me on the Tavern Community Podcast.
We're thrilled to have you because The Network is an incredibly cool project. For the audience who doesn't know, can you maybe describe The Network?
Yeah, so, I mean, at its core, right, you have the internet that optimize for content. You have social media, which optimize for attention. You have AI, which is now optimizing for intelligence. And here at The Network, nobody has really optimized for human connection. So the network is a sort of social layer that helps people understand and leverage the people around them. So we show you, who's around you, how you overlap with them, and, who you should already know. And we're using AI to reveal the latent connections and the opportunities and the alignment that already exist around you. It's not a social media clone. It's not a feed map. It's not, a networking tool or a LinkedIn, alternative. It's really a map of where you sit in your social graph.
Very cool. Very cool. So what inspired you to start The Network?
I mean, we live in this world right now, which is, we're all in these overlapping real life networks, whether it be your school, your university, the city you live in, the alumni of your schools, the industries you're in, but we can't really see or leverage the graph around us. Most of us, most of our opportunities are hidden in plain sight. And so the insight we had is, in this AI era, the most valuable thing isn't really content, it's context. And context, we think, lives in networks. Hence, the network is trying to make your network legible, navigable, and actionable, right? And we're very, we stick by a few things. We're people first. We're not AI first. We're not trying to build AI just for the sake of AI. And we're really building AI that helps humans understand humans. And I think that's a massive difference. And we're starting with real world communities. So with, piloting at Columbia, hopefully next week when this episode, airs or right before it airs. We're identity based, one person, one account. AI is a social lens.
Amazing. So I know you have a background in mathematics, computer science, economics, from Columbia. How has that background influenced the way you think about building communities and connected systems?
Well, I'm studying computer science now because I think being able to, with vibe coding and all that out there, I think being able to truly understand the systems that you sit in and that you use and that you interact with on a daily basis is, adds exponentially value to being able to just simply interact with those systems. And, bringing that back to the social aspect of the network, here you interact with all these social, network systems, all that kind of stuff. And, I went to boarding school. Now I'm at Ivy League University in Manhattan, one of the most network dense places in the world. And I sit in all these networks and I'm like, surely there's a way to, understand the gems, the treasures, the Nobel laureate, the mathematician, the band members that are sitting, around me that I'm already connected to in my contacts. And so, I think it's less the academic background that I have and more just the lived experiences that have really enabled me to truly understand my customer, because at the end of the day, I think I am also my ideal customer.
Awesome. So was there a defining moment, a personal or technological insight that made you say, this is what I want to build?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about this for a while, right? This new sort of social network that brings the connection part, the social part back to social media. So going on, a platform not just to consume content, but to really connect with other humans. But I think a defining moment was really when I realized that AI was about to radically change how we interact with information. There's many people building out there ways to, take information that's being collected, change it, all that kind of stuff. But I've realized no one was really building tools to help us navigate our relationships, right? The people that we try to maintain, there's CRMs out there, all that kind of stuff, but nothing to help us truly, in a network native way or network scoped way, navigate that world.
Yeah, man. And I do know that you had a really cool, sort of history overseas too. I do want to touch on that briefly because I think you mentioned a story earlier about Google Translate. I do want to hear this out.
Yes. It has been, critical to understanding the world around me. I mentioned this briefly, but I went to boarding school abroad in Armenia. Really cool program, by the way. It was called United World Colleges. Essentially, they have schools all around the world, and these schools kind of bring together practically people from every country in the world. I think we had over 100 countries represented in my class.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really amazing, and it brings together from people from all walks of life, and it allows you to really see, put a face to the country in a way, in camaraderie and learning, going through this schooling, these formative years together, and then later on, nowadays when I see the news about all these countries in conflict, these countries building crazy technologies, I always think back to I had a friend, like the person across the hall was, from, whatever country is in the news. And so not only do I think it, helps me empathize with the world, but also it helps me keep in mind, okay, I'm not just building this for the people of New York, right? Or the people of San Francisco or of the US, right? There are, I don't know how many, 9 billion people now in the world. And, you have to keep them, or at least I, find it important to keep in mind this greater population. And so back to, the Google Translate, story. So, I was traveling on my, around Europe during a hitchhiking trip. And while I was going through, I passed all these countries, like Armenia, Georgia, Turkey, Albania, where I have no idea what people are saying, no idea what the signs say, no idea, what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to go. And so, yeah, I was using Google Translate, scanning the signs, having people talking to my phone, all that. And, Google Translate is this incredible tool that allows you to essentially take in this data, which is, the voice of people or the signs, and visualize it in a way that's comprehensible to you. And, to tie this back to the network, we're doing the same thing, right? We're taking this data that is implicit, that is around you, that, kind of floats around who you trust, who you're friends with, and allows you to visualize it, to take advantage of it, to actually understand it. And in that sense, I think, my experience abroad, my experience, meeting all these different cultures, these different people, has truly allowed me to take all that into consideration when building, a community building platform.
Very cool. Very cool. And I do empathize about Google Translate. I navigated Hong Kong with it seamlessly. Talked Mandarin on the bus to, another Mandarin gentleman.
It's incredible.
And he was chatting with me. We're even making some jokes and stuff. It was really fun. So incredible technology.
Absolutely.
Incredible. So how does the network leverage AI and decentralized or distributed thinking compared with traditional platforms?
I mean, you look at a lot of platforms, like any platform today, they're all kind of trying to integrate their own AI, be it, Meta's Llama or, OpenAI, all these things, even the larger corporations trying to add their, customer service AI, all that kind of things. But I think most platforms are using AI to maximize engagement, right? So back in the day, right, when Facebook started, it was this social directory. It was about, these are all the people in my college. These are the people, in my college that are friends with my friends. Let me, go explore, understand where I sit in the graph, and connect with more people. And then, we added feeds, we added algorithm, all this stuff. And slowly the customer is no longer, the one consuming or being on the platform. It's the advertisers. It's the people paying, Facebook or whatever big corporation to, make money. And so I think when that happened, AI no longer served the human and just served the, the money machine, right? And so I think we aim to use AI to maximize alignment, right? So we use AI to surface shared context that you have with people, to map your overlapping networks, to suggest, meaningful introductions that you can either make or that you should, try to make, and really just help you understand the hidden structure around you. And, I think a lot of people think AI will replace humans. A lot of people are scared of getting laid off, of getting, having these like robots walking around, having all their friends replaced by AI, all that kind of thing, or actors, etc. But I think AI will make human relationship a lot more intentional. As long as it's, willing to keep serving, humanity and humans.
Very cool. So in your view, what's the biggest misunderstanding about AI when applied to community systems and human collaboration?
The biggest misunderstanding of AI on community systems and communication?
Yeah, so basically when AI is applied to community systems or human collaboration, is there any sort of pattern you've seen where people have misunderstood the intent? For example, with OpenAI and Anthropic, the way they train on their data, there was backlash from some of the people in the IP community, intellectual property, that said, they don't have a right to do this on public domain data, a lot of which has, is protected by copyright, trademark, etc. That was like a misunderstanding, perhaps, from the perspective of Anthropic and OpenAI. So they tried to communicate that through like a PR campaign to kind of clear the air, so to speak.
Yeah.
Any other patterns like that you've seen where it's kind of like, oh, that's intriguing. Like the public reacted one way, but the big companies acted another way, and it was like, huh.
I think a big misunderstanding that I see in the people around me and just, in my daily interactions is that AI is trying to bypass humans, right? That these big companies are building AI just to build AI, right? Just to achieve AGI. Whoever gets there first, that's the winner. And then what, right? Then they take over the world. I think AI, right? Like, I think a lot of people have the intention of making them really serve humans, like I mentioned. And I think that, in the context of the network, AI has the immense potential to make human connection, and relationship more intentional, right? So I think it should reduce the noise that is, the constant stream of information and followers and, content that you have put at you every single day, and surface the relevance, right? I don't think it should stimulate connection, which, there's this kind of supply demand side where the more, stimulation you get, the more you interact with something, the better, the more money the company makes. So the company keeps doing that. I think it's really important that we just use AI to, reveal, make it easier for the consumer to interact and understand. And in that sense, I think a lot of companies, the ones I follow and I enjoy, I think are doing good in the world, are about, just making the world more accessible and more, democratizing access to resources and all that kind of thing. So I think that's the biggest, gap that we're seeing in people's thoughts.
So an interesting, sort of headspace for some people is the privacy domain.
Yeah.
This is a big question with Meta and the big social networks of our day. So with the network, have you guys kind of developed like a privacy policy, or how do you see privacy at a high level? If people are ingesting a lot of data, do people own their data? Are you going to sell that data? This and that. For the users who are curious, I think this just helps build trust to hear from the founder.
Yeah, of course. And, if you're building infrastructure for human relationships, right, naturally that requires data, right? We need to understand who you are to know who to connect you with accurately. But when you're working in this space, trust doesn't just become a feature, right? Trust is the foundation. You need to lay that from the get-go. And, my co-founders and I, we've all worked in different community spaces, whether that's, leading real-life communities or building platforms to organize communities around each other. We really understand how foundational trust is. And, real identity, consent-based data, no attention farming, right? We're building infrastructure to reveal your data, reveal how your data maps you out among other people. We're not trying to build dopamine loops. We're not trying to get ads in front of you. We're not trying to, I think at the core of the privacy, to maintain privacy with, the business model, is making sure the consumer stays your customer. And so in that sense, I think we are in an incredible moment where AI and, the agentic web, everything that's coming out now, enables you to monetize a business like ours without having to sell out your users' data, right? Without having to, make that the business model where the advertiser becomes the customer. I think now with this data, if you are able to create a sort of ecosystem where the consumer, enables you to build more products, to expand, your scope, and you enable your consumer, but, making that agreement that you give us your data, we give you immense value. And that data stays in the network, stays in, it's in your hands, and you get to decide what we do with it.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. And it's very true that, human relationships, I think, are probably, pound for pound, one of the, single greatest investments and, returns on investment, if you will.
Absolutely.
In our lives. I mean, when it comes to happiness, I think if I think deeply enough, I definitely attribute that to my deepest human connections, in person, including my family, but my good friends.
Yep.
And including you becoming a friend.
Yes. I hope we're friends now. I hope we're friends.
Yes, of course.
Okay,
No, us becoming friends is amazing.
We are connected on the network, so
we're on the network.
That does say something.
And we're early on the network.
I
think I was there before 500.
Yeah,
at very least.
And we're early on the podcast. I'm there before 20, right?
Episode 11.
Yes, episode 11. There we go.
And that is something that I think will never go out of style, kind of thing. And It'll never. It's a timeless kind of pursuit and addition to someone's life. So I think the mission is great. So when it comes to scaling the network, are you focused on specific niches or communities first? Kind of like, Facebook started at Harvard and then kind of expanded out.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of, at the core of the balance we're trying to make. So there is the bigger play of, helping people achieve their dreams, achieve their goals, achieve, whatever they're trying to achieve in life. And then there's the, realistic thing that we need to balance. How do we enter a market? How do we get this out there in front of people, in front of the right people and optimize it to, get it out? And I think that's where we're very intentional about starting dense before going wide. So, we are in Manhattan, but networks will only become powerful when there's density to them, right? When there's trust and shared identity. When I go on the network and I see people that, I've met in real life, right? And so right now, we're a lot more focused on identity-based communities, whether that's, universities or alumni communities or, founder circles like the Tavern. Because those environments already have this high trust density, right? Like, anybody at the Tavern, they ask me for advice, I'm there to give the advice, right? I'm not there to take advantage of them, to try to sell them my product. We are a trust-based community. And that's important, right? If you try to build horizontal social networks from day one, you end up with noise, right? You end up, with people from, London, Beijing, right? Like San Francisco, like people who I may know through a friend of a friend of a friend of a cousin of a sisters of a dog, right? But at the end of the day, I want to know the people I will be interacting with every day, who I'll go to class with, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Right? And so I think, same school, same city, same mission, the connection becomes meaningful immediately. And so our strategy isn't really, grow fast at all cost. It's more build high density, high signal micro networks that prove this real world connection and coordination is possible. And then, once you solve that alignment, once you nail it inside one dense community, then you can replicate that model pretty much anywhere, right? To the Tavern, to the, boarding schools, to the alumni networks, to the, gym communities. Like, anybody can have, their communities around them.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have to say, thank you for beta access.
Yes.
I've been playing with the app. It's very cool. So it is cross-platform, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So people across iOS and Android can enjoy it. One of the cool features you showed me is this ability to make introductions. So if I think you should meet one of my friends, I can intro you through the app and you guys can connect on the network. And the other, on the other side of that, it's like, if I think someone should introduce, or what is the flip side of that?
Yeah. No, I mean, once you wrap your head around it, I found it to be incredibly useful.
It's very cool.
But yeah,
it's very cool.
So to put some clarity here for everybody listening and for you, Frank. Basically, the current mission of the network is to make introductions through mutuals and shared interests to, the people sitting around you in your social graphs. And so how we do that is, like you mentioned, I can be like, I see person A, I see person B, and I think that they should meet. So let me introduce them. Let me make a group chat, right? And so what we will facilitate that introduction through, surfacing the shared interests, the reasons that they might want to, introduce each other and kind of remove the social pressure to have to answer, to have to, go into that chat. And so, to take a real life example, I have a friend who's a fashion designer here in New York City. And I have a friend who is also probably the person with the worst fashion taste I've ever seen, right? And everybody has their own way, but I was like, I should make these people meet, right? Like this guy, this fashion designer, he's always looking for people to just help out. He loves helping people build outfits, all that kind of things. And this other guy has been talking to me for a while, being like, okay, I need to buy more clothes. I don't know what to buy, what brand to go to, etc. Especially in New York, where everyone's quite fashionable. And so I was like, yeah, let me introduce you guys. So they're both on the network. I went through the process, and now they're talking, follow each other on Instagram, follow each other on the network, and, zapping each other every day. By the way, you can now zap each other on the network, just, for fun.
Wow, okay.
I think
is that like the equivalent of like a poke on the old school? Was it Facebook who did the poke?
Yeah. It's equivalent of the poke, but I think, that was, who didn't like poking? Just to be annoying. So, and it's again, it's these small things that we're trying to build into the network that just, when you poke someone, it's directly human to human, right? I'm not sending you a reel. I'm not sending you a YouTube video. I'm not trying to, get you back into this constant stream of attention. It's really just, hey, I'm thinking about you, or I saw your profile. Let me poke you. Let me zap you.
Yeah, no, it's a very cool. I'll have to test it later. I'll be zapping you and Ben and all my friends.
Looking forward to it.
So with the app, how many users are you up to now?
So right now we have about nearing 2,000 people on the
Amazing.
Yeah, growing
And
fast.
you're starting at Columbia, which is, if anyone has seen The Social Network, the movie, akin to Facebook's strategy, right? Starting at some local population that you're very familiar with, and then expanding out, building like a trust network, right?
Exactly.
Very cool. So after Columbia, who's the next immediate community that you're kind of welcoming into the network?
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, that's to the listeners to decide, right? We've already thought about this. We're building this sort of leaderboard, right? A competition, and our first community, Columbia University, right? And the next community will be whoever is the largest community within a certain amount of days after our launch on the waitlist. So right now, I think it is either Harvard or Princeton. So
Okay.
we might open there, but then also NYU right now is nearing, it's climbing up in the numbers. So it's been amazing for us because, it's always nice to see interest from people and also, growing in different universities. But up to you guys listening, who's going to be next on the network?
Put it in the comments.
Yeah.
Who should be next on the network?
yeah. And click the link in bio if you want to add your school or your networks, on the network.
So when it comes to building the network at this early stage, in the beta phase, have you seen any challenges emerge yet? Either technical, cultural, or otherwise? And if so, how have you as a young team faced this?
This is an interesting question because we're at this weird point where we're building something that has both, partially been built before, but also where we're entering this space where we're building something completely new, right? With all this, agentic capabilities built in, right? The community aspect, and also building, a social media or a social network in an age where there are hundreds of social medias, right? You're competing with, the likes of TikToks, Reddit, YouTube, Snapchat, right? And I think so the biggest challenge with building something new is that you're building the vocabulary at the same time as you're building the product, right? So it's not really a clean category for what we're creating. And if I say, social network, then people think feed. If I say AI platform, people think, B2B SaaS chatbot. If I say, networking tool, they're like, oh, but then it's LinkedIn. So the challenge has really been clarity, right? Communicating that what we're building is infrastructure for human coordination. And technically, mapping networks responsibly and ethically is a very complex thing, right? We have advisors across the board who are all, pulling us in different directions, and it's about balancing that. And culturally, helping people rethink how they use digital tools is even harder, right? So, but that's also what makes it interesting. That's why I see, what motivates me to solve this, every morning when I get out of bed. And I think if something doesn't fit into an existing box, it's usually because, you're building a new box. And I think that's at the core of, every big thing that's been out there, whether that's Amazon, Facebook, eBay, any big thing, it's always been a category defining product.
Yep. And that it's a great mission. I'm curious about, so when your team looks at the network, do you have any specific KPIs or measures of success that you're aiming for early on? Let's say users, engagement, any sort of other real world outcomes that you're measuring, somewhat objectively or scientifically to see, is this a proxy for success?
Yeah. So, I mean, we do measure quite a few points just to see, are people caring about what we're building? Is there actual engagement, all that? But I wouldn't say we do it in the traditional way, right? A lot of VCs we talk to are like, okay, what are your retention metrics, right? How many downloads do you have? What is your rating on the App Store? But that's not, you don't really measure success by downloads. We measure it more by outcomes. So, we care about, meaningful introductions that are fulfilled, that are, facilitated, these real world collaborations that are formed, the opportunities that are unlocked for our customers, for our users, the mentorship that is created between, an older user or a more experienced user and a newer user, and the projects that are launched, enabled by our platform. So if someone joins and discovers a connection that they would never have seen, otherwise, that's success, right? That's what we measure as, okay, we've done something here. If someone uses it to coordinate something meaningful, that's success. Long-term success for the network, at the network is when people say, I can't imagine navigating my community without the network. And, engagement is vanity, right? Alignment is the true value that we're creating here.
Beautiful. I want to put that quote on the Tavern site.
yes. I mean, you can.
That's got to be on the network site.
Yeah. We can take it a Tavern X the network. Put a few notable quotes under there.
No, that's a beautiful mission statement. Or actually, do you have a mission statement, like official?
I mean, official, unofficial, we say a lot of things in the team. I think the real goal here is just, enabling connection, making,
Yep.
here, this is a good line. The network being a social network that enables human connection. That's what we're about.
Beautiful, beautiful. So when it comes to, we're heading into this future where there's open clause everywhere.
Yeah, it's an exciting future. It's an exciting future.
Without a doubt. But there's people like Elon Musk tweeting about,
the moon.
The moon.
The moon.
Like, be careful of like where AI is going. Ray Kurzweil talks about the singularity.
Yeah.
There's all of this commentary on both the double-edged sword of AI into the future.
Yep.
So when it comes to, integrated, like human-centric networks in the future, like how do you see the relationship between humans and evolving or progressing AI to the point of AGI and eventually superintelligence? Do you think humans will become tighter knit in our communities? Do you think we'll kind of, start to integrate more with AI? Do you think AI will join the network? You'll start to interact with agents on the network?
Yeah. I mean, like, let's be honest. AI, I think, is going to compress like information, right? All the information out there will become abundant. Like we have, more and more sensors being built every day, right? Understanding how, cameras, microphones, like just out there, everything is getting measured, right? And AI allows us to process that information. But I think that networks will, amplify opportunity. Be that, being in the communities, active in the communities around you. I think when information is becoming abundant, what becomes scarce is context and coordination. And, in this more integrated era we're entering, right, with OpenClaw, where, it understands everything on my computer, or, with, whatever music, Siri, Google Maps, everything out there. I don't think a digital system should replace human relationships, right? I don't ever want to have my best friend be an AI or a robot or, whatever, the opportunities that they present us are. I think that digital systems should enhance the human relationships, right? As you said, I think we are moving from broadcasting content, right? Trying to be an influencer, trying to get the most followers, to navigating relationships intentionally. And, I think the future is not about more connection, right? Because as I said, we are in the most connected era ever of humanity. Now I can reach literally any human on earth. And yet, we need to achieve better connection. I want to be closer with my closest friend than I am right now, right? I don't want to be, learning about their trip to, let's say, Egypt over Instagram, right? I want them to come and tell me about it. So I think it's about better connection. And I think the most powerful networks, as we advance this, AI era, will be the ones that understand context and don't just, scale things. So, yeah, I mean, that's what we're about.
Yeah, no, it's a great feature for the audience. In the initial beta test that I was participating with, you have this sort of match score concept, and I really like that because it's it's not just like a high level. Like I click into the profile, I can see our shared groups. You have a nice little summary written by AI saying, this is why this is a high match. And it's as if someone warm introed me to a friend, right?
I mean, that's exactly the goal, right? It's like, it's to spotlight those people that you already have access to, right? Like, well, I don't know how many people I've spoken to in my life, probably, in the tens of thousands. And I wonder sometimes how many of those people are just truly amazing, right? Treasures in my network that I just have no idea about, right? The other day, I was talking to this guy who's building a university campus delivery system. So, really exciting startup. It's going great for him. He's, expanding, I think, to Harvard now and U Florida. So, really growing fast. And we were talking to all the startups, right? Talking about the network, talking about his thing. And that's all we talked about. And then I put him on the network, put him through the beta test, and we got recommended to each other. And when I read through why we should connect, why, the algorithm, our AI taught, to put us together, it's because he's also, he used to be a competitive skier in China, and I was a competitive skier in California.
Very cool.
And, that would never have been brought up in our conversation because that's just not the context we're in.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I think is really powerful in these systems is because we, have this context, have this, understanding of who each person is individually, we can then surface these so many different overlaps that you have with every human being in your life in a way that you might never have done naturally, might never have understood, right? That relationship might purely have stayed, now you're both operating in the same startup space, right? Now it's like, we're both operating in the startup space. let's go on a ski trip next weekend, which, I think is great,
I'm game.
Exactly. I mean,
I love Colorado. I snowboard though, but
yeah. I mean,
we'll go to
snowboard
Vail,
skiing.
go to the back bowls.
Exactly. But yeah, that's what I think is powerful with what AI, the information out there has enabled us to unlock, to, visualize.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because it seems like, so a lot of the context, that is online is, related to the social apps that we use, YouTube, TikTok, etc. So for the deeper, let's like say inward, those the things people write in their diaries, say, or those inner kind of emotions. Will there be a way to privately share kind of inner thoughts on the network, and then have like some sort of privacy layer or mechanism that helps you match people based on like deeper kind of sub level, let's say, qualities or interests?
Yeah, I mean, so like I said, right, the network is at its base a social directory, and to make that directory, personalized, right, we want this helpful agent, this personal social agent, to truly be catering to you. And so obviously, I might see, a mutual we have in one way, and you might see him in a completely different way, based on the context that we have, on the overlaps that you have, how you met this person, etc. So clearly, we don't want, our assistant to be, saying the same things to both of us, because we're two different people. In that sense, we do have, integrations that we're looking towards of, within your own user base, within your own, proprietary data, be able to, write down things you know about this person. Go on, let's say, a podcast with someone and be like, oh, this guy does podcasting. If I ever want a podcast, this is who I should go to, right? But then this is information that is contextual to me and to my relationship with you, right? We want to add context to this connection, but it is not contextual to your relationship with someone else, right?
Got
so
it.
you might not broadcast this to the world that you do these podcasts, but now, I know, okay, Frank's the podcast guy, right? So
Got it.
Yeah,
So it stays within our context,
our relationship,
shared context.
exactly, our connection. It stays between us.
Yes, got it. Interesting. Yeah, it's going to be very cool to see how this progresses, and I'm going to be on board.
Yeah, I mean,
Frank at the network.
I hope to see you, making intros, meeting people, all that.
Oh, of course. So, what emerging technologies, AI agents, distributed identity, edge computing, etc., are you most excited about right now?
I mean, it's a hard question to answer. There's so much out there now, but I think in the scope of the network, I'm really excited about AI agents, right? I think this agentic space, the agentic internet that's coming out, we saw a preview of that with Moltbook and those OpenClaw agents,
yes,
which we'll get into.
Yes,
but I think that I'm really excited about AI agents as long as they continue to serve humans, right? Human intent. I think the second that they start serving whatever algorithms, whatever profit model you have out there, that's when it becomes disinteresting. That's when we enter that, super evil kind of AI super world, like the Matrix, basically. So yeah, I think personal AI assistants that help you navigate your network and your life intelligently, I think that those distributed identity systems where users actually own their data, choose what gets shared, and the systems where AI helps route collaboration instead of just generating all this AI slop. I think that the more powerful AI becomes, this is going to be the key point, the more important it is that humans stay central in the decision-making process, right? So I think, as long as technology, and there's a lot of it, but as long as it increases human agency, and it doesn't, abstract it away, I'm all for it. I think that will be an amazing future that just unlocks this, opportunity and change-making ability in every human on Earth. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I love and respect the optimistic look. I agree and empathize. I think the future is super bright with this technology. So if you had one wildcard prediction for how the next decade of networking and AI will change society, what would it be?
A wild card prediction. Here's my wild card prediction. I think in 10 years, we will have trillions of AI out there. Whether it's hosted on a quantum computer moon or wherever it be, I think that there will be trillions of AI that won't just know what you like, but will truly understand who you are, what you need, and how it can serve you to the end. And I think that the companies that win in these next 10 years won't be the ones that control attention or control what you do. It'll be the ones that
intelligently route the trust, right? Those who are able to understand how trust flows between humans, between, organizations, and then eventually between agents themselves and, the human to agent interaction. And when we have those trillions of AI agents, each really specialized in, their field, understanding how to route that, I think that will be, the craziest bet. It'll be insane.
Wow. So routing trust, that's a fascinating topic. Yeah, no, I think trust networks in the future are going to be the most valuable, it seems. And for humans, it will probably come back to meeting people physically in some capacity, or having a way deeper awareness of their interests beyond just surface level, profile metrics on a GUI.
And
let's say,
yeah, and I mean, even like, these profile metrics that we put out, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on whatever broadcasting platform. Is it really you, or is it what you want LinkedIn to think you are? Like, is it what's going to get me hired, or is it what I actually, like that I'm doing, right? So I think it's a very hard thing to achieve, right? I think many people are trying, but I think, when someone is able to understand, right, like, why do I trust you with, with my community, with my efforts, and why do I trust this, this startup I'm working on with my time, with my, commitments, with my, digital footprint, and why don't I trust, these big conglomerates with, all my data? And when someone is able to quantify that and, have this trust layer, I think that, will be unlocked amazing things.
Yes. And so another question that has popped up around social networks is this idea of protecting people from spam, phishing attempts, hacking attempts, et cetera, et cetera. So from the perspective of a warm intro, I think a really cool feature you have is, in order for me to request an intro or from someone or send a friend request, I have to come through a warm contact in my network. So in the node graph, I need at least 1 degree of separation from them with someone I'm already friends with. I think that's a really cool feature that should be highlighted. What was the impetus for that? Was that just intuition or anything deeper than that?
Yeah, so I mean, the network at its core is designed for real life. So our goal is to mimic how real life, social graphs evolve and grow, and how you make friends, etc. And obviously, there's 2 ways to add friends right now. Either you can send them your direct link, and once they get on the app, you just get connected, which is cool to get your friends on. And then after that, if you're looking to make more friends, discover people around you, we're all about that, warm intro, that second degree of connections. It's like a network scoped social directory. And so in that sense, we really want you to, be like, oh, this guy's friend of this guy. I really like this guy. I should probably, reach out, or I should ask my friend for an intro. And so in that sense, we've had a lot of success with this in the college campus, because, in a college campus with, 10,000 people, everyone is separated by 1 or 2 degrees. So you can, reach pretty much anybody just by asking a few friends to help start the conversation.
Very cool. Very cool. I think I read a stat that on X.com, like less than 10%, it might be even less than that, less than 7% of the people actually post, and like 90-something% just read, right? Yeah. So for more passive users of the network, do you have any plans for features that will help proactively grow their network, like maybe suggested friends or this and that?
Yeah, so at the core of the network, something we're very proud of is the personal social assistant. So this is an sort of agentic being that exists on the network that, every week kind of surfaces, a few people that she thinks you should, talk to, that you should meet. And then she, if you ask her for help with, let's say, a project you're working on, or a startup you're looking to fundraise, or, a podcast you're looking for guests, right? She'll then surface the people within your network, or within, a second degree of connection that she thinks you should reach out to, and she thinks would be a good fit for whatever, goal you're trying to achieve. And, in that sense, even for our, more passive users, we found success there as well, because they are able to, proactively, without them having to prompt anything, there's a proactive, feature which will reach out to them, nudge them to, hey, these are cool people who are interested in what you're interested in. Don't be shy, come out, reach out. And so, even people who, let's say, are very, niche into a specific thing like gaming or physics or reading even, they're able to, build a sort of friendship with people around them, might be on the same campus or same classroom, that they didn't even know were interested in the same things as them beforehand. So
very cool. Very cool. And I think we've talked briefly about this idea that, when you're on YouTube and you go to the comment section, it's like you feel instant camaraderie with these people, strangers.
Absolutely,
But you
yeah.
feel like, okay, we're all in this together. We're all in the comment section. We're commenting on something, watching something.
Exactly.
Do you have any plans for any like social activities on the network in the future, like watch parties, events, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean, there's lots to be built, lots to be done. But a few ideas that we're throwing around is, yes, events. So we're looking to, a user, are doing something, whether it's, go co-work at somewhere, or going to a coffee shop, or going to study for an exam, or, whatever you may be doing. And, as we're network scoped, I have my New York network, I have my Columbia University network, I have my Econ 101 network with all the people in that class, right? I can, put an event, create it, put it out there to that network, and everybody in that network will get pinged, being like, oh, Tristan is, going to Tempo to go co-work at the Tavern community. And so everyone in my Tavern community network will be like, oh, let me go join him, or I'm coming as well, or I'm not coming, et cetera. And so, it's to just broadcast out there, similar to what Foursquare used to do, with checking in at, the different locations you went to and letting your friends know.
Yeah.
We're just kind of all about, bringing the people together, connecting, more social, more, creating community, because I'm a strong believer that, big tech, big media, all that, they're trying to keep you lonely, because the lonelier you are, the more you scroll, the more attention goes into, these algorithms, these advertisers. But if you join community, community gets you off your phone. And, I'm all about getting off your phone and despite, as long as my app enables that, right?
Yeah, no, that's what I love about the network too. It's focused on, physical community as well.
Yeah.
Just like Tavern.
Yeah.
So I'd love for us to be, interoperable in any way possible.
Absolutely.
Like we'll give you our API link.
We'll give you our,
and, hopefully we can post to the network API.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Maybe there's a plugin community in the future with developers.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be reaching out to you first to get your website, right? I mean,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a lot of overlap there, right? You're designing this physical network. I'm designing this, digital representative of my physical networks. It's exciting stuff, man, to be in New York for.
Yeah, it's amazing. So, just briefly, like let's say 5 years out, or let's say 10 years, where do you see social apps in 10 years from now? We're currently in 2026.
I mean, in like 5 to 10 years, right? It's hard to tell, because I think that as a civilization, we're kind of advancing almost exponentially, and it's really hard to fathom that in my little human brain. But I think a world I would like to live in is one where it feels really obvious that, I should have a living map of all my, relationships. That, it's just like, I'm checking my calendar, I'm checking my contacts, I'm checking the network. So socially, I want people to feel less alone inside these massive institutions, these massive, cities like New York. I don't know, 8 million people here, and yet I think the stat is like 50% of young adults report themselves as being lonely. And so, yeah, like universities, cities, industries, they're all filled with so much opportunity, but most people don't know how to navigate them, right? And so technologically, I think the network becomes part of the identity and this routing layer of human collaboration. So, not a feed. Please, I hope we get rid of feeds. Like, this is really bad invention. But, I don't want a content platform, but just this infrastructure, right? If AI becomes more powerful, and I think it will, we need systems that help humans stay very central to coordination. And, the long-term goal isn't to create more connection. It's to help humans stay central to coordination, right? So it's to make connections more intelligent.
Very cool. And so are there any, when it comes to inspiration, are there any teams, projects, or entrepreneurs, et cetera, that you look up to?
I'll be honest, I'm a big movie fanatic, right? So
yes.
I'm very inspired by the Social Network movie, right? Like this early Mark Zuckerberg, back when he was, just still a college kid like me. And, he just saw around him, fascinated, like, like me, and in how people connect, how people overlap, like, all these like environments, all that. And so it fascinates me how he just, built all this stuff. And, I mentioned this, I think previously, that I, back in boarding school, I would just build so many little projects. I was copying a bunch of stuff that's working in the US and ship it out there, abroad. And, it just excites me. And so when I was building something like the very VV, like zero of the network, I found it so cool that I could understand how all my friends are connected to each other and map that out. So, that's, a big model, like really early Facebook and back when it was still human centric. Other than that, I think just people who just all entrepreneurs in general, really like people, and not just entrepreneurs, but content creators, people, small business owners, people who go out there and try to build and create value and push into the world, right? So, I lived in San Francisco for a bit, and I really love that environment because everyone there is highly motivated to just ship things, put things out there, and, just put themselves out there, put their product out there, talk about it, share it, get their friends' ideas on it, and it's something, it's not for the faint of heart, right? You get a lot of bad feedback, you get good feedback, you get support, but you get hate, but the people who do that, right? That's how we advance. That's how new things come out and innovation. And so, I really admire everyone who does that. Everybody listening who, might be doing that right now.
Very good. Very good.
What about yourself? I'm curious if you ever shared this.
I've been vibe coding, like really enjoying diving really deep into Claude Code, but not just one agent, multi-agent sessions. I'm a fan of Cursor.
Yeah.
I've tried the new Codex app from OpenAI. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Have you tried anti-gravity?
Yes.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's very cool because Google's suite of services are incredible.
Yes.
However, there's something that brings me back to simplicity.
Yeah.
And for me, if it's not Cursor, it's just the terminal.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like TUIs.
Yeah. I completely agree.
So I've been playing with like iTerm too, and trying out like Warp.
Yeah.
I built a little project called Beam, for instance.
Interesting.
Check it out.
Yeah.
But it's just like a window. It's a wrapper of terminal windows where you can organize persisted memory on disk. Because something I found that was a pain point was, the memory. There's like Claude MD,
Yeah, of course.
Agent MD, etc.
Yeah.
But like project-specific memory persisting across multiple agents working at the same time seemed to be somewhat complicated. And I was hitting hallucination issues and debugging through loops back to get to stability.
Yeah.
So I think people innovating on persistent memory will help a lot. But I say that because it's part of my stack for the Tavern apps.
Yeah.
Do a legal text project called Copycatch. That is also built. I won't reveal too much of the secret sauce.
Yeah, be careful.
But part of the stack is using like the OpenAI 5.3 codex.
Yeah.
To help debug, to help write unit tests, this and that. So a lot of it is coding. But I do go for walks around the city. That's why I love New York.
Yeah, I mean, you have that balance of just being, in your apartment, in your setup, just knee deep in vibe coding, right?
Yes.
And then just stepping outside and just people, right?
Yes.
Flowing around you, doing their own thing, working on their, stuff, and also this, like the sun, the air, like New York air has just this feel to it, right? You feel the ambition around you, which is, which is motivation. It sounds like, kind of like a crazy sentence, but you feel.
Oh no, it's true.
Yeah,
this is like the most inspiring place on earth.
Yeah.
I love it, and everyone here is just trying to bring their dreams to life, and they're super ambitious.
The city of dreams, right?
Yes, yes, and that's why Tavern, the hackathon's coming up, which AI hackathon.
Show up.
Show up, keep an eye out for it. But the AI cohort with Tavern is coming up.
Yeah.
And we have over 200 applications from amazing founders and builders. But we're going to try to, have some Claude Code hackathons and OpenAI, the Codex hackathons, and teach you about TUIs and all these things, right?
Get some sponsorships going.
Yeah. So OpenAI, Anthropic. If you're listening,
I endorse the Tavern hackathons.
But that's the fun of the physical networks too.
Yeah.
Is that we get to have, there's engineering networks too where we can hack with people. BetaWorks is a great place up in Chelsea.
Absolutely.
I've been to some incredible like Prompt Olympics events and all these amazing, very forward-thinking events. I'm excited for the future in that I agree that if AI, I think Elon Musk talks about like a maximally truth-seeking AI as like the goal, which is cool. I respect that because I think
it's a noble goal to be chased.
For sure.
The means I can, you can always second guess, but
I like if AI is truth seeking and if it supports human beings and treats human beings with respect, that we deserve because we're all beautiful creatures.
Yeah.
But we did bring AI into this world, right?
We did.
I think that'll be a very interesting and fun future because it's moving so fast. It seems like time will just
It's
it seems like in the
incredible.
future you just imagine something
Yeah, and
and
it
you
just
just enjoy
happens.
it, right?
Yeah, wait for your Neuralink. It's coming.
Very cool, very cool. And then one quick kind of fun question: top 3 favorite movies of all time, or just right now. I know this list sometimes changes. in people's
I
lives.
think it changes on a nightly basis. Top 3 movies. Okay, I'll definitely put Interstellar up there. Love that movie. Absolute crazy. The filmmaking, the world building, and then just the story in general. It's just so good. Dune. I think that the adaptation recently to his novel is really good, with Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya and all that. And I think I read that series like 6 times, so like I know by heart what's happening by now.
Amazing movie.
Yeah.
And Lincoln
absolutely
Square
amazing.
IMAX. Shout out. Saw it with my
yes.
brother. It was incredible.
Really?
Seeing it on that screen too, which is one of the largest in the world,
Yeah, down
right up
in
the street.
Yeah.
Upper West Side.
Exactly.
And Dune 2 is coming out soon, so
Dude,
let's go.
So excited.
We should go.
We'll go together to the IMAX.
Yes.
And a third movie. Let me think. Honestly, I'm looking for recommendations. So if anybody in the audience in the comment section has film recommendations, or if Frank, what are your top 3?
I
with
share
us.
Interstellar as one of
Interstellar,
them.
yeah.
I think 2001: Space Odyssey we talked about.
So good,
I think it's
yeah.
just all-time classic.
Absolutely.
And then the third slot, I kind of bounce around different movies. I do like Blade Runner 2049 a lot.
Yeah. See, we're both in this like
Yeah.
utopic, Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve,
Super.
Christopher Nolan, like that kind of vibe
Absolutely.
is just it's great. I can watch those movies multiple times.
Yeah.
I also empathize about Dune.
Yes, such an amazing.
Yeah, I mean we can go. There's a deep rabbit hole here, just in like the sci-fi realm, which I like a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really think the network is an incredible project, and I'm glad that people, if you're learning about it for the first time, is there anywhere they can go to kind of support right now, and maybe put their name in for the wait list, this and that. What are the next steps for them?
Yeah, so if this resonates with you, what we're building at the network, we have a website up, right? So it's thenetwork.life. Make sure to get the in there. That's our URL, and then once you're there, for now you can sign up with the wait list. And I do think we will soon be putting up a link to join the community, whether that ends up being on a website or Discord or whatever platform. We're always looking for more people who are excited about the mission, and people who are excited about being early to this next wave of human connection. So yeah, you're welcome to join us there, join the mission, support us, share your thoughts, and help us build a people-centric product. And yeah, we're also on Instagram, X, I think the network.app. We have many different usernames. Make sure to plug them, in the description of the episode.
Yes, they will be.
Yes. But so yeah, look down there. But yeah, no, we're all about understanding what people really need and how we can serve our customers. So
Amazing. And we're both, Tristan and I, in the Tavern community here in New York City. So come to one of our events. Come meet us in person.
exactly, come to
hang out.
one of our dinners soon.
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. So just want to put this out there on the record. Tristan had this amazing idea for dinners, and we are probably going to do this. So if you see some dinner announcements, come hang out with us. Come chat.
Come connect through the network, right?
Yes. Come connect the physical social network.
Exactly.
And it's really beautiful how Tavern and the network can kind of grow together.
Yeah, I mean, we orbit in the same space, which is incredible.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of Columbia alum, hopefully, YC, Antler, all these different groups.
Yep.
And really, the beauty is when all these groups come together and you get like a positive sum emergence of value, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of you, man.
Dude, I mean, me too. Likewise, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think the Tavern was doing some incredible stuff.
Oh my gosh,
So-
dude, for 18 years old, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's incredible.
But
Dude.
to touch on that, I think that you have like this opportunity, right? You have this life you're given, this place you're put into, whether that is wherever you are currently located when listening to this. And you should just go, right? Like the biggest thing I've learned working on this at 18 years old is, everything is there. Like if you just put yourself out there, doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, doesn't matter, what your background story is, people are there. People are there to, they have expertise, they have resources, they have support that they can provide. And it's about putting yourself out there, sharing your story, sharing your mission, and just, creating, right? I think that's, the most impactful thing you can do with your life. So
Yeah, no, it reminds me of a TED quote. The universe celebrates the bold, and this is a bold project.
Exactly.
And I'm just happy that you're doing it, and we want to support Ben and I and the whole Tavern community. So thank you for doing what you do.
Yes,
Tristan.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for supporting me.
And hopefully this will be one of many episodes. Want to check in with the network as you guys grow, especially as you emerge from beta to the full prod release.
Absolutely.
That would be very cool to see. But yeah, before we kind of conclude the episode, any closing thoughts for the audience?
I mean, for the audience, I think my, for all the founders that are listening, right, because this is the founders community, I think the biggest piece of advice I can give is to just, do it, right? If you have something that you reasonably think that you have an edge over, or even if you just have something that you're like, I'm interested, this is something that keeps me up, just go, just do it, right? Whether you stay up, an hour later at night or you wake up an hour earlier in the morning, just go, set aside a time, work on it, whether it takes, a year, a month, 5 years, just do it. Because, you only have one life, you only have, one thing to put out there. You can work on as many projects as you want, but, creating something is this feeling, and seeing people use it and support you when you're doing it is this feeling that just never goes away.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you. And thank you for tuning in. And please check out the network in the description. We'll put all the social links.
Yes.
And I really hope everyone does, maybe they can add us. So if they've watched this YouTube video and we're part of this YouTube, are we part of the same community? We'll see.
I think we might be able to work a network around this YouTube channel. We'll see. Only because it's early.
So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel,
you
then
unlock
those users.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We will work something out.
That's very cool.
So, but yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast and for inviting me, coordinating, and creating this physical community. Right, the Tavern is a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah. Awesome. Until next time.
Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Peace.